Yeah. The human rights movement, to my queen, to my sister, my mother, and strong women everywhere. Thank you, Sister Rosa. You are the star. Started our freedom movement. Thank you, Sister Rosa Parks. Thank you, Sister Rosa. You are the star. Started our freedom movement. Thank you, Sister Rosa Parks. December 1st, 1955, our freedom movement came alive. And because of Sister Rosa, nobody rides on the back of the bus no more. Sister Rosa was tired that day, tired of being mistreated, tired of obeying unjust laws, so she refused to be reseated. The bus driver said, "Gal, you got to get up. A white man wants to sit there." She said, "No, that violates my rights. I've already paid my fare." Well, thank you, Sister Rosa. You are the song.
Hi, hello everyone. It is Monday and I'm hosting Brilliance on a Monday. Today I am hosting the brilliant Sister Rosa Parks. Although she is in heaven looking down on us and resting peacefully, I wanted to bring her to the table this month because she is my spark. She has sparked so much for me in ways that I didn't even realize until I really start thinking about what I'm doing right now as a host, as an educational consultant, as a leader for a movement for better conditions for our Black and Brown students and better teaching conditions, literally for our teachers so that they can teach all of our students well and break down the systemic racism, the systemic things that are happening, continuously happening. But I want to talk to you guys. I am Robin Queen, the Queen Educator. And guys, I host Brilliance on a Monday because I believe that we are all educating somebody somewhere, but we need to be doing it with equitable practices and making sure that everyone that we encounter is better after we leave them. And so to do that, we've got to be equipped. To do that, we've got to know how know ourselves and our biases and really understand how we can shift our practice so that we can do better. All right, guys. Well, Dr. Rosa Parks, I'm calling her doctor. That's what I'm going to say. She's Dr. Parks to me. I don't know if you would believe this. I'm showing you this little book here that when I was I was 12, I want to say. I might be telling my age now, but I got to meet her. Dr. Parks, my mentor, my shira, Miss Rosa Parks. She was a woman in a time where the Jim Crow laws, if those of you don't know her, you should know of her, and you should also go read about her and read more in depth. Because even when I was in school, they didn't even teach me the things I actually learned outside of school about Dr. Rosa Parks, Miss Rosa Parks, from her, from organizers from the Raymond and Rosa Parks Institute for Self-Development. I was able to go on the Pathways to Freedom tour, and I am forever grateful. My life has been forever changed just knowing that there was a woman who was just like me, just like you, who felt like things need to be different. These laws that we have are not just, and that's that. And why should I have to follow them? And so I want to read from you a part of her story. This is called Quiet Strength, Rosa Parks with Gregory J. Reed. And she talks about the faith, the hope, and the heart of, they talk about the faith, the hope, and the heart of a woman who changed a nation. And that she did. She was the spark to the bus boycott led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I want to also call out the judge that, they took the case to, that was also someone, a white man who was like, look, listen, if it's unjust, it's unjust. I'm going to say it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say, let's continue to be separated and segregated on the bus just because, that's what the law is. The law is not okay. And before I read this to you, I'm really excited because I want to let you know that you have the opportunity, when given the opportunity, you can use your voice to help change laws. That's exactly what happened here. And organize with people who are like, look, let's do this. This is not okay. There have been laws in place that were status quo laws and that are in place even today that many people have stood up and changed. Some known, some unknown, some people known, some people unknown, but people who really organized to say, hey, listen, let's do something different and show the people that have making these laws that this is not fair. And so I've had a weekend full of just remembrance. I watched a few of these, people's stories and talked and listened to a few people's stories who, were part of the boycott. There were actually Black people who worked and had to walk for miles and miles and miles just to prove a point. They had to do it. Many of them had to do it because if they would have, if they would not have been unified to say, no, I will not be taking this bus. You will not get my support. I'm paying the same amount of money. I am paying the same amount of money. So I should be able to sit anywhere. As white people, I should be able to sit anywhere. And so we think about advocacy that shows up. So there's a lot to talk about and I get so excited. You can hear more about my story down the road. I really want to talk to you about my experience in depth as a child, listening at the feet of of Mrs. Rosa Parks and all the people who surrounded her and how she really talked about, it wasn't about her feet being tired, right? But it was about something that needed to be done. And sometimes we need to do things that just really need to be done, right? We need to do the things that need to be done to change the things that are putting people in spaces and places that they shouldn't be in. When we are all a part of humanity. And so a lot of our ancestors, we always talk about Black history is American history. Okay, it is history because all of the laws were built off of all of the American laws were built off of Black people and and white people and the divide and that there have all those different things, and so it's a really, really important thing that we do to really study our history so we know where we're going. Now, listen, let me say this to you guys. When I went on the Rosa Parks tour, just a little girl, young girl, actually, I will say, I think I definitely was in middle school. My sisters went, people from my church, people from the community. My dad organized a group alongside other people in the community who would take us each year. And I feel like I went 2 or 3 years, but we went to Detroit, and that's where Pathways to Freedom was. And when we went, they had it set up, Dr. Parks's team had it set up to where we were able to experience the Underground Railroad. She was teaching us our history. She was saying, you all need to know your history so you know what to change, so you can continue to be change agents until we do have that equality till we aren't separate but equal, right? Until we are known as citizens and have the same rights, right, as Black people, and also educating white people to know that you can break these cycles as well because they are perpetuated maybe in your family, or because you have your ancestors who owned slaves or who were a part of the segregation movement and all of those things. And so there's a lot to dig into here, but I really just want to share my experience and my gratefulness and gratitude to this woman of excellence, the woman of excellence, Rosa Parks. And I played that song whenever I first came on. Thank you, Sister Rosa. You are the spark Thank you, Sister Rosa. That was what I played was the official Thank You, Sister Rosa featuring Cyril, Neville, and Mark Bryan. If I'm saying that correctly, so I want to give credit to them. But I remember being a little girl and we would literally sing, and we honored her. I remember going to to like a whole dinner that they had to honor her and all of her amazing work. And with that, my oldest sister, she mimed Wind Beneath My Wings. She mimed at one of the performances. Like, it was so beautiful. We asked her questions. I believe she even, like, my other sister sat and talked with her. Oh my gosh, there was just so many things that I can say of how personable she was and how she really loved young people and really wanted to make sure that she understood the difference that she made was about her character, her belief in God, her belief that we are all created equal, and that and just the rights, having rights as a human being. And it wasn't so much that she was going here like, I want to get arrested. That's not what was happening. But she did work for the NAACP. She did work and support children, to be advocates, you know, and speak up and have like a good life, right? And so I wanted to share that with you guys. Oh, that song came back on. I wanted to share that with you guys. Like, there was the character, it was her character. She wanted to see things change. She didn't just go and say, hey, let's organize and do this. No, it was a part of who she was, you know. And so, and then, and lastly, it was her purpose and her call to be able to stand or sit down for what was right in the midst of craziness that was happening. And so, I wanted to share that with you guys. And this book was signed. She signed my book. And so I was showing that earlier while the song was on. But look, you can see how old I was, but, but look at this. In 1995, Rosa Parks to Robin Queen, I forever treasure this and keep this. And she did this for us as young people. All of our books, she signed all of our books. She spoke to us. She taught us. She mentored us, and with the help of her team. And it was just such a blessing. And then our leaders who took us, like my dad was one of our leaders, like I said before, just made sure we had a rich experience, right? And one of the things that I found out, so you never know about your history until you are exposed to more things like this, right? And so one of the sites that she took us to on the Underground Railroad tour, Pathways to Freedom tour, was we got to meet Tuskegee Airmen. And I found out that my grandfather's, oh my gosh, I know I'm saying this wrong. My dad's gonna get me. My grandfather's brother, I believe, was a Tuskegee Airman. Or it could have been his, yeah, I think that's right. And I got to learn about history personal to me when I went on this tour that I did not know if I didn't even go. And so you see how important it is for young people to learn history of not only others, but be able to discover their own history, to be able to say, wow, like, this is my ancestors were in this struggle, you know, and we're the first to do certain things too. And so that was beautiful. The other part was we went to Canada. Nova Scotia, I believe, was one of the spaces we went to. We went to actual sites of the Underground Railroad. It was amazing. We had to, like, I think we went to did we get to the hotel? Somewhere where Dr. King was. We went, I have to try to remember, this was so many years ago. But the beauty of it, the best thing that I remember was getting on the bus, the actual bus. I'm not lying to you. The actual bus that Mrs. Rosa Parks sat in her seat and did not give up with that quiet strength. And she did not give up her seat to a white man. Not only that, she did not give up her colored seat. It was actually the first row, if you don't know that for sure. There's been so many stories out there, but I heard it straight from her mouth. She was sitting in the front of the colored section. I believe everything back there was full behind her. but it was still the color section. So it wasn't that she got on there to go break the law. She got on there. She went and did what she normally would do. But, you know, she did have some trouble with this bus driver previously. And, you know, so, and there were people before her who got arrested as well for not giving up their seat on the bus. And so that was a known fact, but it wasn't that day that she went and did that just to say, hey, I'm going to get arrested and we're going to start a movement. No, she was tired of, you know, being treated the way that she was being treated. And when the white man got on and told the bus driver, listen, I need those seats, and all those Black people need to get up out of that row because I'm not sitting by a Black person. So y'all all got to get up and go to the back. She, you know, first she said everybody hesitated, but then she said the rest of them got up, and she said, I'm not getting up. And that bus driver said, well, you know what I'm about to do. I'm about to call the police on you. You're about to be arrested. And she was like, you don't have to do what you have to do. And, you know, it wasn't, she was being this angry Black woman talking about, you know, I'm not getting up. No, she said, I'm not getting up. Do what you need to do. So I'm going to read straight from what she said here. And then I want to share with you one last portion before I go today, because I will be honoring a little bit more in depth some of the amazing women that I know of, that I've encountered, and I'm hoping that you all will also honor some amazing women who've made a difference in this world just by being their authentic selves, who have with their values and their belief systems that especially aligned to humanity, and everyone feeling and being able to operate in this world without discrimination, segregation, and bias. So her book is called Quiet Strength, one of her books. The faith, the hope in the heart of a woman who changed the nation. She dedicates this to her great-grandmother, Jane, and her great-grandpa, James, her mother, her brother, and her husband. But I want to go, there's in the table of contents, there's a few different chapters here. She talks about fear. First, they talk a little bit about Rosa Parks, who she is, where she's come from, fear, defiance. And so I want to go to 19, defiance. She does also talk about injustice, pain, and character, role models, faith, her values, quiet strength, determination, youth. So I'm going to jump to youth. And so I'll just read a few excerpts from her book, and then she talks about the future. So I'm going to start with defiance. And then I'm going to jump to between faith and values, and then youth in the future. Okay. So these are straight from her words. So it's just as if I'm interviewing her. But thank God that I'm so grateful that I've gotten the opportunity to hear straight from her. Such a beautiful thing. So I'm going to start on page 21. She said, the more I became involved with the NAACP, the more I learned of discrimination and acts of violence against Blacks, such as lynchings, rapes, and unsolved murders. And the more I learned about these incidents, the more I felt I could no longer passively sit by and accept the Jim Crow laws. A better day had to come. The custom for getting on the bus for Black persons in Montgomery in 1955 was to pay at the front door, get off the bus, and then re-enter through the back door to find a seat. On the buses, if white persons got on, the colored would move back if the white section was filled. Black people could not sit in the same row with white people. And I think that was really important for us to know. So although this man, it was one man that wanted a seat, one white man that wanted a seat on the bus. So the whole row had to get up. Do you see that? The whole row had to get up. So yeah, and move back. So think about that, right? And it said, okay, on the buses, if white persons got on, the color would move back if the white section was filled. Black people could not sit in the same row. And this is in Montgomery, Alabama, for those of you who don't know. They could not even sit across the aisles from each other. Some customs were humiliating, And this one was intolerable since we were the majority of the ride ship. So think about that. Who's basically getting on the bus? Black people were. They didn't have the, same opportunities with even wealth, and you didn't see a whole lot of Black people in that time having cars. Some of them did, right? But not a lot, not the majority, right? So the majority were actually on the bus. So they couldn't even sit across the aisle. Some customs were humiliating, and this one was intolerable since we were the majority of the ridership. On Thursday evening, December 1st, I was riding the bus home from work. A white man got on, and the driver looked our way and said, "Let me have those seats." It did not seem proper, particularly for a woman to give her seat to a man. All the passengers paid 10 cents, just as he did. When more whites boarded the bus, the driver, J.P. Blake, ordered the Blacks in the front row, the first row of the colored section, the row I was sitting in, to move to the rear. Bus drivers then had police powers. Interesting. Under both municipal and state laws to enforce racial segregation. So the bus drivers could enforce the laws, could have you arrested, could enforce those Jim Crow segregation laws. So that's important to know as well. And she had some history. If you read earlier in the book, I suggest you get this book, Quiet Strength, and really understand and read her story, because this came from her. And not necessarily just look up on Google what happened with Rosa Parks and teaching your children, your students, something really quickly that came off of Pinterest. This is authentically who I call Dr. Parks. So it says here, they had those powers. They had police powers, the bus drivers at that time. However, we were sitting in the section designated for colored. At first, none of us moved. "Y'all better make it light on yourselves and let me have those seats," Blake said. Then 3 of the Blacks in my row got up, but I stayed in my seat and slid closer to the window. I do not remember being frightened, but I sure did not believe I would make it light on my feet by standing up. Our mistreatment was just not right, and I was tired of it. The more we gave in, the worse they treated us. I kept thinking about my mother and my grandparents and how strong they were. I knew there was a possibility of being mistreated, but an opportunity was being given to me to do what I had asked of others. I knew someone had to take the first step. So I made up my mind not to move. So when I was talking to you all earlier, I think the misconception sometimes comes in that, she went on there and say, "Today I'm going to not give up my seat." That wasn't what it was. She actually, an opportunity came about and she took it. And I want to ask you, when is there an opportunity for you to do the right thing against the status quo? And I mean the right thing. I'm not talking about, do whatever is right in your own eyes, but the right thing where people are, when you're feeling led to walk in your purpose, to do something that will change the way, I don't know, the way things are, like the norm, right? When do you have an opportunity to do that? Can it be in the classroom or even outside of the classroom, where people say to you, "That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is." No, it doesn't have to be, even though it's wrong, but that's just the way it is. And so this is what my Shiro, my brave Shiro has taught me from a young age. It's the reason why I've been so shy for so long since I was younger, but there was always something inside of me that said, when something was wrong or people were being mistreated that weren't like the underdog, or people who were being mistreated, where something inside of me was like, "No, that's not okay. That's not right." And I had to say something. I had to stand up. And sometimes it's caused me to be lonely, and it has caused me to, walk this routes in a way that was kind of unpopular, because people, even my own people, like even Black people were on that bus like, "Oh my gosh, come on, can you just get up, girl, follow the rules, get in the back," and they were following the rules, no shame to them. But it's just like, when do we have an opportunity to step out of the norm, the popular opinion, and do what is right? And so that's what I challenge you today. And so when when it says, so I made up my mind not to move. Blake asked me if I was going to stand up. No, I am not, I answered. Blake said that he would have to call the police. I said, go ahead. In less than 5 minutes, 2 policemen came and the driver pointed me out. He said that he wanted the seat and that I would not stand up. And then she asked this question, why do you push us around? I said to one of the policemen, I don't know, he answered, but the law is the law and you're under arrest. And she did get arrested that day. What do you think about that? That's tricky. I mean, when the law is the law and it's the wrong law, I'm a part of something called Teach Plus. And we are currently working on shifting these laws where we can have more teachers of color, better preparation, laws for better preparation and pay for teachers and educators. And I am advocating with a group of people who are skilled in knowing how to do this. And I believe that that's what my Shiro did, because she was in the NAACP, she was the secretary, right? She learned about how the mistreatment and discrimination really has affected so many people. And she learned that she had to change her mindset and say, hey, whenever I have an opportunity to change things, I will. And so I implore you to do the same thing. And I'm working to do the same thing every day that I can, even though it's scary. And so that's something that we need to teach our children too, stand up for what's right, but there's a way that you do it. She had that quiet strength with it. She wasn't violent, and sometimes people, there's different ways and tactics that people use to do things. There's marches, there's different things, but, how are you being led? How is God leading you to make a change and a difference? And how is he guiding you? And so let me come on down to role model. I think I said role models, right? Or faith and values. So let's come to that. Ooh, I love this. It says character. All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character. So Ruth 3:11. She is a woman of noble character. I love this picture of her with the scripture. I think that's beautiful. So you can rise in strength and power and change things and still have a quiet strength or still have a bold strength. And so I just wanted to share that with you, and you can teach your children how to do that too. Children should be able to speak up for themselves, to speak up for what they need. Teachers should be able to speak up for what they need and what's right and what's going to help them. Okay, y'all know I could talk, so I just get so excited. I get so excited. She talks a lot about these role models, and Dr. King is in here. I think that's awesome. But I wanted to share with you her faith. Rosa Parks, she was speaking at a church in Montgomery, Alabama in 1969. This is that picture of her doing that. And the quote here is from Isaiah 26:4. Trust ye in the Lord forever, for in the Lord is everlasting strength. So that goes to what I was saying. What is God employing you to do from your unique ability and talent? And here I wanted to highlight how she had a belief in Christ early in her life. And in those days, she was able to learn how to have good character, good godly character that would even guide her into that quiet strength, and that she could still stand up for what she believed in, but still maintain her character, her faith, and her beliefs. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And the other part I wanted to share was when she talked a little bit about her values. And y'all know I use this scripture all the time. Train up a child in the way he or she should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. It is so important. I want to kind of close with this and then our youth part. It is so important that we take this and connect this to, first of all, understanding Proverbs 22:6 does talk about training up a child in the way they should go, because it's with Rosa Parks' training and development that has helped her to be a woman of change. It has changed the nation, that has been known in legacy for years, for decades. Her legacy still stands. Her character still stands, but that came from somewhere. Training and development, that came from somewhere. Yes, she was in school. She went to school. She learned to kind of sit up straight, talk when you're told to talk, and all those things. And she didn't always feel that was right, but she was trained. She knew, even from, so the training came from where? Her family. She references her family a lot. She had a good teacher. And she had good biblical teaching, and she, there were things that she just learned along the way that has allowed her to be that change agent in the world today, even after she is gone. So I wanted to share that with you guys. And it said, even though Blacks were treated as second-class citizens without many rights, my mother used to always tell me that all of God's children were supposed to be free. She kept telling me this over and over again until I truly felt that one day we would be free, because God had meant for it to be this way. So my belief in freedom goes way back to the days when my mother used to sing. I don't really know this song, guys. I'm gonna learn this. Oh, freedom over me. I will never forget those words. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave. Oh, yes, I remember this. Okay. And go home to my Lord and be free. My mom actually taught me this song too. Oh, weeping, oh, weeping, oh, weeping over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, crying. So it goes on. But it just kind of goes to that. I wanted to share lastly the future, and I wanted to share youth. And so this, to me, is just such a powerful book and tool, and kind of speaks to who she is. So let's go to that page. Youth. Tell it to your children, and let your children tell it to their children, and their children to the next generation. And she actually references Joel 1:3. Wow. So this is a picture of Dr. Rosa Parks. Can y'all see that? Okay. With children. And I wanted to close off with this because it says, here, there's this excerpt in here. It says, too many of today's youth do not know who they are or where they have been. And as a result, they do not know where they are going. Too many are staying in school and taking advantage of too many are not staying in school and taking advantage of the opportunities a good education can provide. They are not motivated to learn what is necessary to be good citizens, get good jobs, or start their own businesses. There is nothing wrong with these young people. We must help them. It is our job to show them the way, to teach them values, to prepare them for the future, and to help them set goals. Do you guys understand? This is why this is my Shira. I haven't read this book since I was years ago. But this just reminds me, I'm thinking to myself, wow, not only have I didn't realize where I realized I came from a family of educators, right? And people in that, but it goes even deeper. These are seeds that were planted in me as a young child to help remind me where I was going. I did not come from a rich neighborhood. I did not come from lots of money, but I did come from people who along the way have planted seeds to help and train and develop me to be the educator that I am today, to be the business owner that I am today, to be the bold, brilliant woman that I am today. And I'm so grateful that Dr. Rosa Parks was one of them as well. And she didn't have that title. And I think that's a beautiful thing, that she didn't need a title. She didn't even need an award. She didn't need anybody to do any of this stuff, because she was just being herself, walking out her purpose and what she believed in. And so there was a song that we sang, and it was, and I'll try to remember the words, but we were like, pathways to freedom. To get where you're going, gotta know where it all begins. Do you remember a long time ago? Now, listen, if you're listening out there and you went on the Pathways to Freedom tour, I don't know who you are out there. I would love to do a reunion years ago. If anybody has gone on the Pathways to Freedom tour and has got a chance to hear from Dr. Parks, Rosa Parks, and her team and her crew, the Raymond and Rosa Institute. I think there's some things that still are going on that they're doing today. She definitely taught us as young people to get where you're going, gotta know where it all began. We had a whole theme song, like we are gonna go to these different sites. We're going to see where Harriet Tubman, like these spaces where Harriet Tubman went, like to get slaves to freedom. She not only taught about the slavery part, but she also taught about us being kings and queens and us being able to understand that we were brought into this world not the way that someone told us, but God has already made us to be kings and queens, and that he has given us purpose, and that we've got to help one another get to that purpose and not discriminate. Oh my gosh, y'all already know. I want to carry on this legacy that Miss Rosa Parks has put in the atmosphere of change, of just being authentically her, not having to be seen, not having to make a big show, but to literally sit with quiet strength and do the work that needs to be done wherever it needs to be done. And she is my shero that has sparked the brilliance. Her brilliance was sparked. And just being herself and just smiling and walking in love, but in truth and in firmness, right? Got the attention of leaders who were doing a lot of this work of trying to get with the Jim Crow laws. There's so much, guys. I can't even stay on here long enough to tell you. There's so much more I can talk to you about Miss Rosa Parks and even the judge. I had his name for you guys. I wanted to pull him too. We'll talk about it another day. And how the white judge who was like, if we're going to desegregate the schools, why don't we desegregate the buses? And why don't we, who he went through hardship in his life. And, he realized, listen, we're all citizens paying the same money, putting in the same, paying the same paying taxes and doing why can't we have equality and equity in these spaces? So I'm going to make a ruling. But I thank you all for listening. And again, Quiet Strength by Rosa Parks. She also has Rosa Parks, My Story, which is another book. There's a lot of information out there, but I can tell you that this one right here, plus that other book, My Story, we got straight from her. And you guys seen it. I don't write like this. That is her signature on my book. And I am forever grateful to have had that opportunity. What opportunities are you giving your students, your children, the people in your community to have better lives and to, like Dr. Park said, keep teaching them over and over and over again. The future is theirs, right? It's for them to be able to walk into it and do better so that they can do the same thing for their children and their children's children. Where there is no vision, the people do perish. So thank you all. Thank you so much. And be blessed. Bye.